known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Hey guys, welcome in on a very happy Tuesday to you. Now, here it is, March the 22nd, down to the Sweet 16. We even still got a couple of NIT games going on. We're going to break one of those down. We're going to dive into some of those Sweet 16 games, and we're going to do it with three of the best at WagerTalk.com as we welcome back in Ralph Michaels, Steve Merrill in the house, and of course, Dave Koken here with you guys on this Tuesday. And Ralph, it's been a hell of a tournament thus far, getting us to the Sweet 16. Just a surprise or two, but for the most part, we've got some teams that were meant to be favorites, should be favorites, and some who aren't. What do you got for us at WagerTalk.com and some initial thoughts of what you've seen so far?
Well, March is the time where I've had some great success. Last year, number one in college basketball in March at Wager Talk. This year, number one the last 3 days, number one the last 7 days, number one the last 30 days. College basketball number one in March over the last 2 years. One college basketball play and one NHL play for tonight. What have I seen? We've seen that teams can go on a run. Teams like Michigan that have had some point guard issues still have shined. We've seen some teams that got knocked out. So looking at the matchups, and I'll say it again, I've been on a 5% run, 4 straight 5% winners. 3 of those have been non-March Madness games. So don't take these other conferences lightly, including the NIT moving forward.
Yeah, still a lot of basketball out there over the next couple of weeks. Steve Merrill, it was a little chalky Thursday and Friday. The underdog started cashing over the weekend. What do you have locked and loaded for us here tonight at WagerTalk.com?
Well, I've got one NIT best bet for college hoops, but more importantly, I've got my first 5% best bet of the tournament going, a Sweet 16 blowout, which I've posted in advance, several days in advance, because I want people to get on board. I've only had like one 5% play all year in college hoops. It won a few months ago. Number one the last 2 years since I joined in college hoops, and this is as strong of a play as I've seen. So highly recommend getting the 5% Sweet 16 blow up. But as Dave and Ralph will tell you, instead of getting it for 35, highly consider one of the direct subscriptions, whether it be in all sports with the NBA and college or the rest of the March Madness package. And don't forget about that NBA. I cashed again last night. Now up almost 90 units in the NBA the last 10 months. Number one in that as well at WagerTalk.com, Steve Merrill.
Yeah, no, opportunities galore here, guys. And speaking of 5%, he did it again, guys. Dave Koken continuing to cash tickets. And the NHL, Dave, congratulations. Future bet, 5% for the Golden Knights. Under point total on the season, 106.5. It cleared and clinched last night. Another winner, man. Congratulations. Seeing the NHL board as well as the basketball board really well, man. Congrats.
Yeah, this was pretty easy. I've only made 2 5% future bets ever. Last year in baseball, I had the Texas Rangers under, which was very easy. And this year, the Golden Knights under. I did not like this team as much as most people coming into the season. Granted, I got some help with a horrible run of injuries. They've lost over 350 main games this season. But the fact is, there's still almost a quarter of the season to go, and I've already clinched it. So pretty happy with that. Tonight, I don't have a best bet tonight, so all I've got is one NHL play, one college basketball selection. The college basketball game I'll talk about here. So that's for all access players. the big stuff is coming in baseball now because we're going to have a full season, and my baseball numbers pretty much speak for themselves. So, get in on the early bird specials. You'll save some money and get yourself set up for the season. One note, though, in baseball, I play a ton of first fives, both sides and totals. So if you don't have access to first fives, I mean, most people do, obviously, but if you don't have access to first fives, don't sign up because you're going to get a lot of those.
Yeah, they cash, and the money is green, just like full game ones, guys. So don't let it fool you. Baseball just around the corner. However, Sweet 16 coming our way. Let's take a look at the first game here that we'll break down on Thursday, and that's the Houston Cougars taking on the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona opens up as a short 2-point favorite. Total 145.5. This will be just around 10 o'clock Eastern time on Thursday here. And Ralph, I thought we might get this, or it feels like this should be much closer to an Elite Eight Final Four matchup, but Houston's a 5 seed. What do you think we're going to get here against Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, Houston probably the anomaly. The seedings putting them at a 5 seed. Ken Pom had them as the number 2 team in the country, ahead of Arizona. So some people might say, Houston could be favored in this game. I look at Arizona's lineup, and you have 4 NBA players playing, and it's like, holy hell. I mean, talent-wise, I think they should be a 4.5 or 5-point favorite. But you also look at Arizona, and boy, what a disconcerted effort in those first 2 games. 19 turnovers against Wright State, and they only forced 6. 16 turnovers against TCU, and they only forced 14. They gave up 20 offensive rebounds to TCU, and Houston's the number 3 offensive rebounding team in the country. So, those are the reasons that I would lean with Houston. The reason I lean with Arizona, though, is I look at Houston's body of work. They've only played one top 30 offense this entire year, one, and that was Alabama, a game they lost 83-82. Houston is, again, a very good turnover team on defense, number 29 in the country. So with that said, I can't bet on Arizona until I see them play a clean game. And there's many teams that have gone through the first 2 rounds that have played down to the level of their opponents, turned it on, were talented teams, and went on to win the NCAA tournament. If Arizona wins it, absolutely no surprise to me. But I can't bet them with my money until I see that clean game. As far as Houston's involved, I think we're going to see a lower scoring game. But to me, Arizona the better team on paper. I'd have to back them. Slight leans to the under, slight lean to Arizona.
All right, good stuff there. I mean, Steve, Houston is one of the very few teams that has the size, the athleticism to be able to go man-to-man with Arizona here. What do you think they do against the number 1 Wildcats?
Yeah, if you look at the current KenPoms, as Ralph said, they've got Houston number 2, Arizona number 3. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy to see them as a 5 seed. I've talked about it now for over a week that Houston was the most underseeded team in the tournament. And before the tournament began, they were basically a 1 seed if you looked at KenPom, and they were basically a 1 or 2 seed if you looked at the Sagergan ratings. So Houston is a 5 seed. I thought was a joke, and they took care of business. They've now won 5 straight, and they've covered 5 straight, including both tournament games. The key to this one, the reason I would lean Houston, is going to be pace. They play at one of the slowest half-court paces in the country. Arizona is the 5th fastest team in the country, so I do think Houston can slow them down. That could potentially frustrate the Wildcats a little bit. Game is also in San Antonio. Teams playing in their home state for decades have been a long-term winning play on the blind against the spread. So this line might seem short to the novice bettor, a 5 seed against a number 1 seed, only getting less than a basket. But I think this is going to be a close game, and I think Houston can win it outright. And if they can slow this one down and ugly it up, it would make some sense. And with the total being at 145.5, I think if you do like Houston, it probably correlates a little bit to the under as well.
Yeah, Arizona's been a scoring machine too, Dave. I believe 81 in 8 straight now, at least 81 in 8 straight, and 12 of their last 13. So can Houston slow them down enough to win this one?
Yeah. First of all, on my number, I made it Arizona -1. So there's nothing there. I think the intangibles favor Houston. Number one, the coaching. Look, you've got a first-year head coach on the Arizona side. Kelvin Sampson's been through this a million times. So I think there's an edge on the Houston side in game. Secondly, I mean, I'm sure I don't know if the Houston players watched Arizona play TCU, but I'll guarantee you the coaching staff has watched that game and they're studying and passing along what they saw on game film, which was that Arizona could not keep TCU off the offensive glass. And the Cougars have to be frothing at the mouth the opportunity to do the same thing there. And then there's the one other intangible, though, that does favor Arizona. They're kind of lucky to be here at this point. I thought, and I didn't have a stake in the game, so there's no bias involved here. That was a foul on Arizona late in regulation. Clear as could be. No question about it, foul. TCU should have won that game. Arizona should be they should be sitting home now watching the rest of the tournament. They're kind of on a free roll, and that scares me because they clearly have not played their best basketball yet in this tournament. So I really don't know what to do. I'm glad my number is right on the actual betting number. It gives me an easy way out of this game. And I'm not even going to try and influence anybody with a guess. So I think we got to lean on Houston and lean on Arizona from Steve and Ralph, and I'm not going to break the tie.
I mean, you can't say enough about the job Coach Sampson's done, man. You lose Sasser early on in the season, and wow, great job there. Should be a good one, though. Arizona, Houston, guys. This one should be real interesting, too, as we take a look at Michigan and Villanova in this one. Nova opened up as a 5-point favorite, 135 and a half. And boy, Michigan and Villanova, lot like watching paint dry here, Merrill. Neither team likes to do anything quickly. Michigan's not exactly one of the best defenses, but we know Villanova is. So who do you give the edge to?
Well, first of all, teams that barely make the tournament, I've said this for decades now. We talk about how the first 4 play-in winners always make a run. And by the way, I know neither Indiana nor Notre Dame made the Sweet 16 this year, but keep in mind, Notre Dame did go 2-0 against the spread those last 2 rounds. So they still were a profitable bet. But this year's team could very well be Michigan. I mean, this is a team, as we've talked about here on the show, Dave mentioned it a few weeks ago, this was a top 4 ranked program when the season began. I mean, so they were basically a 1 seed back in November. Now they're an 11 seed, which a lot of people thought was a bubble team. They weren't even a first 4 play-in team. And as much slack as the committee catches over the years, and I'm not a big fan of the NCAA, I think they're about as hypocritical as anybody on earth. I do think the committee, for the most part, does a pretty good job selecting teams. And these teams that get in kind of on the fringe usually make runs. And this year, it looks like maybe that's Michigan, as they obviously have the talent to do so. This is a team that had zigzagged win and losses for the past month and a half. In fact, until that Tennessee winning cover as an underdog on Saturday, they were 0-5 straight up and ATS after their previous 5 wins. So we'll see if they can start stringing together some victories. I'm not so sure that's going to happen in this one. I think Villanova wins this game and advances. Villanova playing excellent basketball, 7 straight wins, 4-3 against the spread the last 7. But I think Michigan's recent wins has lowered this line a little bit. And Villanova, as you said, very slow team. In fact, they're one of the 10, 15 slowest teams in the country. Michigan is also below average pace, but as we've talked about recently, Michigan is better playing up tempo. And one of the reasons they started to play better basketball is they've played above their seasonal pace rating. In fact, when Martelli took over for those last 5 regular season games, every one of those games without Juwan Howard, they played faster. They won 3 of the 5, and now they've won their last 2 in the tournament playing above their seasonal pace rating. So I think this is going to actually reverse everything that's been working for them, and I favor Villanova for the matchup and the slowdown style.
Hunter Dickinson is an absolute beast here, Dave, for Michigan these last couple of games. They have the size advantage. Do you give them the advantage in that game because of it?
No. I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back here because by no means am I capable of coaching basketball. But one thing, those who've watched this program all season long know that I kept on saying, I think Michigan's playing the wrong style. I said it over and over again. This team is athletic. They should be going at a much faster pace. And guess what? They've played their best basketball since they've upped their tempo. Nevertheless, I think Villanova will be able to command the tempo in this game. and that means it's going to be a slower-paced game. I think Villanova is going to win, but I can't recommend the Wildcats at this number. I think it's a little bit high. I made the number 2.5. Michigan's really comfortable, confident right now, I should say. And I think they're going to give Villanova a real good battle. It's not a game I want to bet on. I think there's a couple of other options that are better for me. But I will side with Michigan to cover the spread in this game, but not to win. And to me, that's not a good bet unless you're getting a really big number. If you're backing the underdog, you got to think they're going to win the game. This one does look like it goes to the wire, though. So I'll call it a guess on Michigan plus the points.
All right. Guess with Michigan and the points. Couple of big second half comebacks for Michigan to get to this spot here. Ralph, and let's face it, they're playing some of the best basketball we've seen. Devontae Jones healthy again. So what chances you give Michigan to get it done against Nova?
Well, that's the funny thing, Joe. Devontae Jones missed the Colorado State game and only played 12 minutes against Tennessee, yet Michigan went up tempo without their point guard. So, obviously Jones should be more healthy, putting in 12 minutes in the last game, but I don't like his matchup against Gillespie. This obviously a rematch of the 2018 National Championship. Colin Gillespie is actually the only player on Villanova that played in that team as a freshman. So, he's facing him in a big role again. I love Jay Wright, and when his Villanova teams are playing well, they're just so smart. They're the best free throw shooting team in the country, 82.6% on the season as a team. Incredible numbers. They don't turn the ball over on offense. They do a decent job on defense. They're not as good of a defensive team as they've been, in a couple of their past national championship years. But, I think Michigan had a good matchup against Colorado State. Again, got through it with Tennessee. I think they're going to struggle. While I don't want to lay the 5, I do like the under in this game. Michigan played faster against Colorado State and Tennessee. I think Villanova will slow them down. Villanova, when they have the ball, one of the slowest teams, number 348 on offense. They do slow the paces coming up. So under for me in this matchup. And again, I just can't bet against Villanova in this role. I will say this. While Michigan probably would have been the favorite at the beginning of the year if these two played, when you looked after Michigan lost to Indiana in the Big Ten Conference Tournament and Villanova beat Creighton to win the Big East Tournament, this line probably would have been 7.5 or 8. So past results with Michigan winning has made this line a few points less.
All right, good. It should be a fun one here, guys. Michigan seeing if they can continue rolling as an 11th seed. We do have one game in the NIT that we're going to talk about here, guys. Tonight, this one tips off in the quarterfinals, 9 p.m. as Vanderbilt, the Commodores, taking on the Xavier Musketeers here. And Vanderbilt's got an opportunity, Dave, to win 20 games in what seems like forever with a win tonight on the season. Great job for that program and Coach Stackhouse. But what do you think we're going to get here?
Well, let's talk about the coaching because, look, Vanderbilt's never going to win in the SEC in football. They just can't recruit with the powerhouses. But in basketball, it's a little different. And I really like what Stackhouse has accomplished already at Vanderbilt. I think the future is really bright for them. They're a program on the rise in basketball. That said, I think they're the second best team on the court here. Jonas Hayes is handling the Musketeers on an interim basis. Kevin Steele shown the door after, quite frankly, a very disappointing season. Xavier was a team that I think most everybody thought would be an NCAA tournament team. They didn't make it. They were not good in close games. I don't think having an interim coach is a bad thing for Xavier, and it's a chance for Hayes to really put himself on the map as far as maybe getting a head coaching job someplace is concerned or getting another top-level assistant job. Certainly the teams look good so far with him handling things. They've got the advantage at home here. I think they match up pretty well with Vanderbilt. And I think Xavier's kind of just loose now. The pressure's off. They didn't make the NCAA tournament, obviously. But now they're interested in maybe winning the NIT after getting a couple of games in the win column. I think they're going to play well. And I played this game after the line dropped from 3.5 to 2.5. I'm going to go against the market here. It's a small play, just a 2% selection. But I'm on Xavier. I think they will get past the Commodores tonight. Probably a close game. I would expect this one to be tough. But I'll go with Xavier minus 2.5. And that's going to be my best bet here in the show as well.
All right, gonna lay with Xavier here, Ralph. I feel terrible for Paul Scruggs. I mean, just awful that this kid's not going to be able to finish it up here. But what do you think, Pippen Jr.? He's he become a star there at Vanderbilt. Can he carry them tonight against Xavier? Oh, you're muted, Ralph.
All right, that's only the 5th time in the last 3 shows that I've done that. So probably by about the 7th show I'll learn, guys. So, how valuable is Paul Scruggs? Well, let's see. He's a 4-year starter, and in the last 4 years, he's missed 3 games. He's a senior point guard. Now, he's listed as questionable on the injury list. The Tennessean newspaper said he was out. I didn't get to the window because I could not verify that he was out. If he's out, I will still get to Vanderbilt on the window. Let's remember, this Vanderbilt team had a lot of promise coming in. Yes, they're 19-16. They're 5-1 their last 6 games. Their only loss was a cover against Kentucky. What's the difference with them? Well, Liam Robbins, probably their second best player, has only started the last 9 games. That's it. He didn't play the first 25 games of the season. And then Chapman, who's probably their third best player or tied for second, only made 14 starts, including the last 5 games. You now have Pippen, Chapman, and Robbins. You have a dynamic trio with Xavier without the point guard, with Vanderbilt playing well down the stretch, and all the teams that were on the bubble in the NIT, forget about it now. You're a step away from making Madison Square Garden. You might have been flat those first couple games, but anyone playing still in the NIT is now focused to play, try to get to Madison Square Garden and win this. I think Vanderbilt pulls this off. I think they can win the NIT.
All right. Ralph likes him in this matchup here. Steve, what do you think here? You willing to take the points, or are you okay laying them?
This is a game in which I would have been looking at Vanderbilt, but obviously if Scruggs is not going, that keeps me off the game, because one thing Vanderbilt does is force turnovers. And one thing Xavier's done very well all season is protect the ball and not turn it over, and they're on their home court. But all bets are off if he's not playing. So you really need to find out if he's going or not. I think he probably goes. I don't think he's 100%, so that's enough to keep me off this game tonight. But matchup-wise, I did think Xavier had a nice little edge here because they can take care of the ball, and that's where Vanderbilt likes to get their points. And teams that are pressure teams also usually are a little bit weaker on the road, as home teams can somewhat dictate the tempo a little bit better. And Xavier is comfortable playing fast on their home court. One thing I'll point out is that both teams get a lot of points from the free throw line. When you play fast, that is often the case. Vanderbilt is not as good of a free throw shooting team, 69.5%. Xavier, meanwhile, is about 70.5%. So what should be a close, tight game down the stretch, home court, a little bit better free throw shooting and good ball handling would get me on Xavier, but that's only if, their point guard, Paul Scruggs, is going, and they just don't know right now.
All right. Good stuff there, guys.
Go ahead. Jump in on Scruggs. Well, maybe this is a minority view on Scruggs, but I think Scruggs is part of the reason that Xavier flopped this year. He's been very inconsistent. The Big East is kind of my old home conference, so I still follow those teams really closely. And Scruggs had a really high turnover rate this year, like 23%. I think he's still a guy who can make great plays and can put the ball in the basket. But I don't think he's had a great season for Xavier. And I don't know that I weigh his absence at more than a point. I think he can get by without him. And I think that's part of the reason the line is dropped in this game is because Scruggs might not be playing, or certainly might be compromised. And I kind of looked at it and said, you know what, I think this is creating value on Xavier because, in my opinion, Scruggs is kind of an overrated guy.
Yeah, and to Dave's point, they do have 5 guys averaging double digits in points on the team here, guys. He's only averaging 11.5. So is he a difference maker? We're going to find out tonight if he can go against Vanderbilt for sure. Should be an interesting one there in the NIT quarterfinals. And we got a couple more games also on the board, a few other tournaments. It is now time to see which one of these games maybe the guys like a little bit more than the rest. And Ralph, will come to you here. Lay it out for us. Which one of these games you got circled for us tonight?
Well, Abilene Christian's been very, very good to me. Used them on the money line against Seattle 3 games ago. Used them against Troy. Used them against Ohio. Did not get to the window with them, but was very close. They were just on the mark. They played a tight game yesterday, while Middle Tennessee played a walkover against Boston. So playing back-to-back nights, the minutes clearly favored Middle Tennessee, with them being able to play their whole roster in a 30-point win. So with that said, situation favors Middle Tennessee, but I'm going to back the red-hot Abilene Christian team as a best bet here on the show.
Oh, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Ralph. I love it. Talk to me here, Merrill. Which one of these games you circle for us here?
We've got a CBI tournament semifinals game going tonight on Tuesday in Daytona Beach, Florida, neutral court. I'm going to fade what's been one of the most profitable teams in the country. You know, the loyal viewers of the show back in January when conference season began got a nice little tidbit here. When we were picking on William & Mary, I did mention that another Colonial team, NC Wilmington, was on a nice little run. It all started with that mid-December win over against Mount Olive on December 15th. This team ran off like 10-plus wins, 10-plus covers, ended up being one of the best point spread teams in the country. In fact, they currently sit, I believe, around 21-10 against the spread this year. But I have seen NC Wilmington play in person. Good offensive team. They can shoot some threes when they get open. Not a good defensive team. In fact, their biggest weakness this year has been three-point defense. 36% allowed against teams that average only about 33.5. They give up 37.5% on the road. And now they're taking on a Northern Colorado team that's a very good three-point shooting team. They're hitting over 38% on 27 attempts on the season. Now, I know these teams are playing in a no-rest situation, third game in 3 nights. That always concerns you a little bit about shooting, but this team relies heavily on the three. And keep in mind, Northern Colorado plays in altitude all season. I know this game's in Daytona Beach, but Wilmington's a beach team. And when it's 3 games in 3 nights, I think the endurance factor favors the team that's used to altitude, and they rely on the three. So I think Northern Colorado wins this one as a dog tonight. Northern Colorado plus the 2.5. That's on ESPN2 for your viewing pleasure at 7 o'clock Eastern Tuesday night. Don't forget about the NBA, up over 90 units won the last 10 months. I've got a strong NBA best bet tonight on Tuesday. More importantly, though, I've got a pair of NCAA Sweet 16 best bets, including my first 5%er in the tournament, locked and loaded right now. Number 1 in college hoops the last 2 years at WagerTalk.com. My strongest play yet in the tournament goes this week. Get it right now. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
All right, great stuff there. And Dave, one more time, just to reiterate your best bet here tonight.
It's Xavier. I want to mention a couple of things. If you want to get the rest of the basketball, I wouldn't pick me. Okay, I don't have many games, and look, Ralph has been unbelievable in March the last 2 years. Steve has won more money in college basketball than anybody at WagerTalk the last 2 years. So I'm not the guy to go for in basketball. Those two guys are. On the other hand, baseball is about to begin, and I'm pretty good at baseball. So if you're looking, if you're going to be involved, I mean, look, if baseball doesn't turn you on, if it's like, I'm not going to take the summer off, don't force it. I'm not begging anybody to buy it. But if you're going to be watching baseball and want some action and a good chance to earn some good profits, I've already doubled bankrolls this year in 2022. If you started with a $1,000 bankroll, it's over $2,000 now. If you started with a $10,000 bankroll, it's over $20,000 right now. I'm going to grind it out and do well in baseball, so that's what you should consider me for. Always find the guys whose strengths are in certain sports. And I know there's not much basketball left, but Steve and Ralph really know what they're doing in the hoops. And there's a lot of NBA left. I mean, the best part of the NBA season's coming. So those are the guys you want to look at in hoops. They're going to make you money the rest of the season in round ball.
And do not forget NHL, guys. A lot of NHL left coming your way, and nobody has been more profitable than Dave Koken, coming off a big 5% futures bet on the point total there for the Vegas Knights. Nailed it. So a lot of NHL, including a best bet tonight for Dave at his page at WagerTalk.com. Make sure you visit all
he's
three
pretty good
of
in
the
golf.
gentlemen.
He's pretty good in golf
no,
also.
he's really good in golf,
Dave on the
too.
back also. He's pretty good in golf.
I have no best bets up.
Oh, no best bets. Okay. But there will be, guys, in the NHL coming up. I can assure you of that. And golf.
Yeah.
Let us not forget. He's only won 75 tournaments. I mean, it's unbelievable, the record in 2022 for straight up winners, guys. Outright winners for Dave. Unbelievable this year. So all three of these gentlemen, a lot of ways to make it an extremely profitable first quarter here, guys. Let's end it strong. And our friends from the Gold Sheet, they got to play as well tonight. They're going to look at, it's going to be UTEP taking on Southern Utah. They like UTEP in this one. And of course, this write-up, guys, is available. We'll post it on our Twitter page at Wager Talk. Make sure you check it out. Great stuff here on the Miners taking on Southern Utah. And tonight, I'm going to go with the Cavaliers, not the Cleveland, the Virginia Cavaliers against the St. Bonnies. I hate the spot for the Bonnies. On the road again, Virginia at home. Tony Bennett, yes, it's been a disappointing season, but I think this is exactly the spot where you want to hop on Virginia to take care of business tonight. It's a small enough number at 3. Lay it, as they will handle St. Bonaventure tonight. All right, guys, one more time, our best bet recap here with Ralph Michaels. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Abilene Christian plus 1.5, while Steve Merrill, he likes Northern Colorado. He'll take those 2.5 points. Dave going to go against the market. He says, give me Xavier with the 2.5. I'm going to back Virginia at home tonight against St. Bonnie's. I'll lay to 3, and our friends from the Gold Sheet, UTEP, laying the 4 tonight against Southern Utah. And guys, best bets are available, of course, always at WagerTalk.com. Head over there, visit Ralph, visit Steve, and visit Dave Koken, guys, whether it be the NBA, college hoops, and of course, NHL, golf. Now is the time to hop on those packages, guys. 3-day, 7-day, 30-day all access, baseball around the corner. A lot of ways to make it a profitable month, guys, coming up. Do so by visiting WagerTalk.com. Hit the bell in the upper right-hand corner. Make plans to come back and join us again tomorrow. We'll break down some more Sweet 16 action and, of course, the other tournaments that are going on. And on behalf of Ralph Michael, Steve Merrill, and Dave Koken, guys, we appreciate you hanging with us. Best of luck with your plays tonight. Come back and join us tomorrow. We'll do it again. Good luck.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.